Well, good morning. This is Stephanie Sherwood, the CEO and founder of the Tapestry Network, and we are so super excited to have you here this morning. Please feel free to use the chat box if you have any questions. I'll be checking that periodically. And what I wanted to do this morning is go over some of the stuff that we have coming up. And so what you are looking at right now is the L.I.F.E system, Grow Your Life Without Apology. And L.I.F.E is an acronym for Leadership, Inspire, Fearless, and Embrace. And so over the next 12 months, those are the 4 words that we are going to be focusing on. And today I'm personally going to kick off our new series. This is a sister community to the Tapestry Network. And the Tapestry Network is a membership-based community for Christian business women, actually all business women, but we are a Christian organization. And if you can see at the bottom of your screen, right down here, it says lifesystemnetwork.com/webinars. If you haven't gone there yet, please go ahead and head on over there. There are several documents that you're going to want to download for today's webinar. In fact, for all webinars, some of them will change and some of them won't change, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So we're going to dive in to what this is all about and how it came to be and how I stepped into this leadership role somewhat unbeknownst to me. So for those of you who are just experiencing the Tapestry Network or maybe just meeting me for the very first time, I'll give you just a brief background of my backstory of who I am and what I'm doing and why you're investing 45 minutes to an hour of your time listening to me talk today. And what you're going to find out about me is I have a heart to serve, and I always have. I remember as a young child, I was the one at our family gatherings who ran around and took the dessert orders and made sure everybody was taken care of. And that was just, it's my natural heart. And I remember at school, always wanting to help the teacher and being good at it. And also spending a lot of time with my friends and girlfriends and talking to them about things that were going on. And I just have this gift that lets me look at situations a little bit differently than some other brain types and really dive into coming up with some creative solutions on how problems can be solved and thinking outside of that, whatever we say that box is. And so I've taken all of that, who I was created to be, and it's just, obviously, it's who I am, and so it's come along with me in my life, and it's brought me to where I am today. And it's been a crazy story of how I got here. And so, gosh, where do I start? There's just so much to say. I hit my personal rock bottom, 8.5, 9 years ago now. And I had kept a very large financial secret from my husband, credit card debt, trying to keep a business afloat. And in that process, I am a Christian, and I had been praying for God to help me through this process. And of course, in my Stephanie brain, it was, can I find somebody that will give me a loan? I want to honor my debt. I want to take care of it. And, help me. And no matter what your belief system is, I'm sure there are moments in your life where you've wished for something, prayed for something, hoped for something in your mind, and yet you got out of the issue that you were having, but in a way very different than you had anticipated or thought. And so that's what happened to me. I unfortunately had asked my daughter to keep the mail away from my husband while I was away on a business trip. And in doing that, it became rather suspicious. And on a Friday night, I'd been gone since Sunday, he discovered what had been going on. And in that process, of course, I shattered his faith and his trust in me, and it was not a good situation. And so he called me on that Friday evening, and I've shared this story hundreds of times. I didn't know a human could say so many words without taking a breath, and he had every right to be angry with me. And I was away on a business trip. I was in a position of leadership. I had to have that conversation with my husband. And then, as I often say, I had to put on my big girl panties and go back out into where I was serving as an executive with this company and do my job. And it was difficult. It was really difficult. And I felt so alone. And then the next morning, I ventured into a breakout session and heard a gentleman by the name of Brian Dodge. And he really shared some truths to me. And in sharing those truths, I'm going to go ahead and start the video, assuming that everybody is on now. And again, if you are just joining us, before I click over to the live video, you want to go to lifesystemnetwork.com/webinars, and you'll get the documents that we're going to need. One is for taking notes. One is going to be a writing exercise that we're going to do. And then part of our program, since we are a sister organization, the Life System is a sister organization to the Tapestry Network, we will go into what we're calling a going deeper section. And you may stay on with the webinar, or you may get off. It's whatever you're comfortable with. But in that process, or in that point, we are going to go diving in deeper to some of the lies that we have been told or have chosen to believe, and how we can overcome those lies. So I'm going to start the video and hope this transitions well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make it bigger. So what that process looked like for me in going to Brian Dodge's workshop, as I had just said, was it really hit home, and it brought some deep truths to who I was as a woman and as a wife, and as a businesswoman. And I had to make some really tough decisions that have led me to where I'm at right now. And in that process, what I learned was I had to get right with my faith. I had to be connected to my higher power, which is Jesus. And I know that there are many of you that will be listening to this that may not have my belief system, and I want to respect you. Right where you're at. This is about coming together in unity as business women, moving forward, and making great things happen in this world, because that's why we're all here. And in that process, as I said, I had to do some really deep soul searching. And so after listening to his presentation that day, one of the things that he said to us was, what's your legacy list? Not your bucket list, but your legacy list. What are you going to do that will leave a legacy that you're going to be proud of? And I was like, gosh, I'm not proud of where I'm at right now, and I need to change this. And so in that statement, I took the rest of the afternoon off, and I cried, and I cried, and I reached out, I prayed, I surrendered. I didn't actually even know what I was doing. And he had asked for us to write down a list of what our legacy items were going to be. And one of the things that he said that really stuck with me is, what are you willing to give up to get what you want? And he's a really funny guy. And so he's from Texas, and he's got a southern drawl. And he's like, okay, ladies, now if your business isn't where your business needs to be, Tuesday and Thursday at the country club with Muffy and Buffy might just have to let it go for a while. And, you know, I laughed and I cried, and I laughed and I cried, but that so resonated with my spirit. And I realized at that moment that I wasn't taking myself seriously. And if I wasn't going to take myself seriously, there was going to be nobody important to me in my life that was going to take me seriously. And I love my husband to death. Yes, I can sit here looking the video in the eye, looking you in the eye and say, we've just celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary. Our marriage is stronger than it has ever been. But let me tell you, it was rough. It was really rough. And I so appreciate my husband for sticking in with me. It would have been so easy for him to walk away, and he chose to stay. And I know not everybody, I have a dot on my screen and it's irritating me. I know that that's not everybody's story, but that's my story. And I want to, again, respect your story. And I hope, for those of you who maybe didn't have the outcome that I've had, that you have found a community of women and men that will come around you and rally with you and support you. And I had that too. I had women who were really invested in seeing my marriage restored, my spirit restored, and if you're not in community, that's all I can say is find one. Find a community, a really safe, trusting community where you can get real with people. And so moving farther with my story, it was coming back from Texas and having to face my husband for the first time. And in that, creating that, what am I going to give up? It was how people treat me. And that meant I was going to have to grow a backbone. And that meant that I was going to have to start sticking up for myself and saying some things that were hard. It's not easy. And that was my first step to healing. It was my first step to being part of the woman that I was created to be. Sorry, hair in my mouth, and why I'm on this planet. The other thing that it has led me to do was to look at things that were missing in my life. And what I found was I needed a closer relationship with God. I needed to get plugged into a church family, and I really needed to work on my marriage. And I've already shared that my marriage is doing really, really, really well. But in that process of realizing that I needed to work on my faith relationship and get plugged back into church, that's where this courageous leadership really started to happen for me. I was finding that in my church home, it was really feeding my soul. I was learning a lot about the things that were important to me. It was strengthening my personal relationship with a very personal God. And I was meeting some really incredible women. And then I started going to Bible study, which is great. Learning is awesome. I encourage you to always be learning. And that's one of the things about being a courageous leader and that's one of the things that Brian Dodge taught us, or he shared with us, is you have to do sometimes those hard things for those people who count on you. And I'm dyslexic. Reading is not easy for me. In fact, I pretty much dislike it, if I'm going to be honest. There's sometimes I just downright hate it. But I knew that if I was going to grow as a woman, as a businesswoman, and as a wife and a mother, it was going to require me to take action steps that were not easy for me and that were not fun for me. And so that made me start doing a lot of reading. And in that process of what it was like, as I was learning more at this point about my faith and the religion that I believe in, I was getting really, really, really excited about the things I was learning. And I'd go back out into the marketplace. I'm a marketplace entrepreneur. I have been for, 15, 16 years now. And I love being in the marketplace. I love being an entrepreneur. I love serving women. But I was finding very quickly that having that faith relationship was not an appropriate thing to do in the marketplace. And then I'd go back into my church home in my Bible study, and I belonged to a mega church, and there was about 1,200 of us. Yes, that's a 1200. on Tuesday night, and all participating in small groups, and learned quickly in that environment that I was not allowed to talk about business. And again, it stirred my soul. And I had just come off this traumatic experience with my husband, and the secret that I had kept was starting to feel like I was getting to a place of wholeness again in that relationship, but then feeling like I was creating this other place of a disconnect, and it just didn't feel right. And again, I started just thinking and praying, and God, what does this look like for me? Because I'm feeling really fragmented. I'm feeling like nothing's fitting into place that I know that's important to me. And I started looking. I started looking for somewhere that I could plug into a like-minded community where I could take those business questions to, those things that I was pondering, business ideas, and get wise counsel. And I couldn't find it. And so I got frustrated, and I'd go back into my Bible study and realize again, the only reason we were talking about work is if we were out of work. And yet I've come out of corporate America. I've watched and witnessed and have personally experienced bullying by upper management. I have experienced and seen bad business practices. I have seen upper executives that don't treat people well. I've had coworkers that aren't nice. I've been asked to do things that don't necessarily align with my personal belief system. And again, I didn't know where I could have that conversation. So I started looking again for somewhere to plug into, and I just couldn't find it. And that is what has led me to a really big step of courageous leadership. And that was doing something that so many people told me I had no right to do. I'm not college educated. I've never run a completely successful business. For me, going into a Christian arena, I've not been an active churchgoer up until that point. And if I'm going to be honest, I'm not right now either. I'm in community, I'm in fellowship, I'm in the Word, but we'll save that for another day. But I just want to be honest with you guys. And in that process, of taking this step of, I want to integrate business with my faith. And people were like, oh, that sounds kind of strange. Can you do that? You're a woman. You don't have a seminary degree. You don't have a business degree. You don't have all of these things. And how are you going to do this? Who do you think you are? And along the way, like I said, I have been out as an entrepreneur for a while now. And in this transition period, I had had women who had been coming alongside me, who had been saying extremely positive things about me. You're so gifted at that. You're so talented at that. Oh my goodness. Gosh, if I could just do that as easy as you do it. Oh my gosh, my world would just be so much better, so much easier. I could get so much more done. So I had a choice. I could choose, even though I didn't necessarily see those really great positive things that other people were seeing about me. I had a choice. Another step of courageous leadership. I could choose to believe what these other people that I respected and admired were saying about me, even if I didn't see it in myself yet. Or I could choose to believe those other things that were being said. And while there was a lot of truth to them, I don't have the business degree, I don't have a seminary degree, I could also believe that there were enough people that loved me, that wanted to encourage me, that were encouraging me and wanted to support me and wanted to see my success beyond anything I could possibly imagine. And oh my goodness, what if we did this together? What if I took this idea of blending my faith and my business, and I rallied together some other women that had that same belief, that felt the value that I felt. And yeah, it was kind of strange. And there's sometimes I still sit here, 6 years later going, who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk that I would be doing what I'm doing? But it was those small steps of courageous leadership to be able to share my story of how I disappointed my husband, how I disappointed myself, how I chose to do things differently, another step of courageous leadership. And instead of letting myself get stuck, I reached out to women specifically and said, I'm hurting. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And when you are in that vulnerable, broken place, that's hard, and that's leadership. Right now, at that moment in time, I was a leader of one, and that was a leader of me. But that's all I needed to be, was a leader of me. And the other things just started falling into place, because as a courageous leader, you need to be vulnerable, you need to be truthful, and you need to be open. You need to be open to ask, and then you need to be open to receive. And so in that process of going through that, people just started looking towards me. Here I was, this is one of my dear friends, Donna Gamache, she's one of our Tapestry directors, says, and I know there's a lot of other people that have said this in a variety of ways, but I just love how Donna says it. It was beautifully broken. And in that beautifully broken mess, going back to my story of listening to Brian Dodge, what I didn't share with you is that I went up to him after I had cried my eyes out and wrote my legacy list, and I presented it to him. And long story short, I won't give you all the details, but he looked me square in the eye after we'd had our conversation. He said, there's something incredibly special about you, and you're going to do great things. And I'm like, how is that even possible? And at that moment, what I'll tell you is I didn't choose to believe him. I didn't take a step of courageous leadership. But about 6 months after that, another woman who I met instantly had that same rapport and respect as I had done with Brian Dodge, said almost the same exact thing to me. And I'm like, okay, this is two strangers. This can't be a coincidence. This has got to be something bigger than me, bigger than myself, saying, it's time. It's time. And at that moment, that was one of my choosing to be a courageous leader, where I chose again to see what other people were seeing in me, even though I didn't see it in myself. And so what I want to close with today, my long-winded, I'm a girl of many words, is in that place of courageous leadership, you have to start with you. You have to be willing to lead yourself. You have to be willing to dig deep. You have to be willing to go inside yourself. You have to be willing to reach out, and you have to be willing to accept what others are willing to give. And I don't mean that in a manipulative, codependent place. I mean in that true spot of when you are standing in your power, and at that moment it might be a little bit of power, but you've got it. You never have let it go. You can stand in that and go, okay, what's my next step forward? What's my next step forward? And what I always say is that we need to ask for help. And we, while the L.I.F.E system is open to men and women, it's just proven that our DNA is different, and women have a more difficult time asking for help. I don't know why, we just do. So when you ask for help, be serious about it, be intentional about it. And when somebody is receptive to hearing what you have to say and they're willing to help, accept it. Even if it's not right at first. Sorry, I got a little teary-eyed, got some residuals. You can be powerful, and your leadership, your courageous leadership, may never be beyond you. It may be that you are just going to spend the rest of your life leading yourself and leading yourself well, that you're going to set appropriate boundaries, that you're going to make wise decisions about your health and the food that you eat and the amount of sleep that you get and the things that you invest in and the television that you watch. That's being a courageous leader. And some of you may have another direction in your life, and maybe it's really having a leadership role in your family, your core family or your extended family. Maybe it's going to be that person who has a leadership role on her block, and she's the go-to girl or the go-to guy for who's the best plumber, who's the best electrician, who in town does the best dry cleaning. That's being a leader. That's being a leader of your block. And there are going to be some of you that are called into other types of leadership. And maybe it's your career. And maybe you are called to lead. Maybe you're going to lead one other person. Maybe you're going to lead 100. Maybe you're going to lead 10,000. But whatever that courageous leadership looks like for you, you have to make that choice of what are you going to believe, whether you see it in yourself or not. What are you no longer going to allow others to say about you? And even if there is some truth to that, it's not the entire truth. And are you willing to stand for the amazing woman or man that you were created to be? And then lastly, in being a courageous leader, it's about being okay with yourself. It's about being who you are. And if there's something about you that could be improved upon, whatever that is, it may be that you need to read more. It may be that you need to eat a little bit better. It may be that you need to get a little bit more sleep. Whatever that is, it's okay to adjust. But that doesn't make who you are as a human bad. It doesn't make who you are as a human unworthy. It doesn't make who you are as a human anything other than awesome, because you were created to be awesome. And so in that mindset shift, there will be, as being a woman or a man of courageous leadership, there will come a point where you need to self-evaluate, and that you need to make those fine little incremental twists and turns to how you show up and how you do things, and celebrate who you were, because it's who got you to where you are now. And our stories and our journeys are who we are. And I know that there are some really crazy, awful, ugly stories out there, but you have the power to be a courageous leader. You have the power to lead yourself. You have the power to choose you. Nobody else has to choose you, but you can choose you. You start with yourself. You start changing you. And as you work on making those fine adjustments in who you are, and you stop worrying about what that person thinks or what that person thinks or what anybody else thinks, those things that used to hurt you, hold you back, they'll just kind of start to disappear, because you're being a courageous leader of one. And so what I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for letting me share a little bit about me. in my journey to courageous leadership. And let me tell you, it's a journey. It's not ever going to be one that ends. And that's the last, I guess that's truly the last thing I want to say. Stay humble, stay open and willing to hear, to receive all that is given to you. It doesn't mean that you have to accept it, but receive it, hear it, and then evaluate it. Check against your spirit, check against what you know, check against the fruit of who you are as a human, and then move forward, but stay humble. And so in this process of the life system, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get an expert who is going to come in and talk about whatever he or she is an expert in. So that's what we've just completed. And now we are going to move into what we call our writing exercise. And I know for all of the business things that I've been to in my life and all of the great stuff that you learn, and you're going to go home and you're going to apply this and you're going to do that, just seems like life gets in the way and you get back to the busyness of everyday life, you know, being a wife, a mom, a husband, a father, you know, a coach, a dog lover, a cat lover, whatever your life looks like. So what we're going to do right now is I am going to put up on the screen 4 questions that we're going to take a few minutes for you to look at, review. Again, if you haven't downloaded that sheet of paper, this would be a great time to do that now. So the lifesystemnetwork.com/webinars. And this is what's called our writing exercise. So if I can get this to work, let me see. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to get my face out of the way. And I'm going to turn on some music and give you guys some time to think about these questions. The first question is, what impacted you the most today? The second question is, how can you apply this new knowledge to your business or life? The third question is, what action steps will you take this week to apply it? And I know that entrepreneurs or small business owners, that's who we've geared this to, and we often are kind of out there flying solo. So who can hold you accountable? The life system is about being in community. It's a network of like-minded people that we're bringing together, and we know that we need to be held accountable if we really want to make awesome changes in our life. So again, I'm gonna keep this on the screen and you are going to work on these questions. I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I'm gonna turn on some music and I'm gonna turn myself off and give you guys some time to do some thinking, some contemplating, and seeing how what you learned today, you can help move you, your life, and your business forward. All right. Well, I hope that gave you some time to at least start writing some of those things out. And if you have anything that you want to share, go ahead and type in the comment box now. Give you guys a minute or so to see what you thought. Just thank you again for taking the time to be with us, and specifically me today. And I just look forward to hearing what you have to say. So, gosh, let me see. So, Julie said, thank you for sharing your heart. Well, that's very sweet of you. But what she learned today was that leadership of one is really important, and that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. And her steps, she wrote to me that she is just going to take the time to slow down, and that's awesome. And I think sometimes that when we look at that self-leadership and to be courageous, it is having to slow down and look at how we're doing things, why we're doing things, and is what I'm doing serving me and the legacy that I want to leave? And if not, then it's taking that time to self-adjust and make those, we're just saying minor corrections, minor tips and retooling. It's nothing great. You just one little step at a time. That's what courageous leadership is. I would say silly leadership is when you think you can just jump in and make everything change. You will find, because I've tried that before, and I've never had success with that. So that courageous leadership is that one little step every day. And I love that step, Julie, of saying that you are going to slow down, and that's huge. And you're going to slow down in life and business. So I just wanted to say thank you. And for essence of time, I can't look at anybody or share anybody else's comments, but I just wanted to say thank you. Oh, Julie, who are you going to keep as your accountability partner? Because that's really important. And we hope that you're on our next call, and maybe we can check in with you to see how that went. Okay, so she says that she is her husband. That's awesome. And I think bringing your life partner into this process is probably one of the best and most responsible people that you can do. And I know sometimes that just doesn't work because, but I think that's an awesome place to start. Girlfriends are great. Other business colleagues, maybe somebody in your same church or community group is also another great place for that accountability partner. And so we're going to move into our going deeper section. So if you are not interested in learning a little bit more about God and who he says you are, his truths about you and his character, then this would be your time to just hang up from the webinar. We're going to still keep recording, and I'm going to still keep talking. But I did want to let you know that next webinar is July 11th, and Audrey Goodwin will be with us, and she is going to be talking about financial leadership. Remember, it's a 12-month program. The first quarter is about leadership. And as business people, we need to be being leaders in our finances and what that looks like. How do we take care of things? And that's really more of a mindset conversation than the tactical, do I use QuickBooks? Do I use Peachtree? Do I use Quicken? We'll have that conversation later on in our series. So we welcome you all back July 11th. Audrey Godwin will continue to make email notifications and Facebook posts. But for those of you who are going to go ahead and go on with your day, thank you so much for being with us. And for those of you who are going to hang out with us for a few more minutes, we're going to go into our going deeper section. So I'm going to bring up our next document. I'm going to move myself out of the way. Our next document is the name of God. And this is something that we have been doing in the Tapestry Network, and it's just so important that we get to understand God's character and who he is. I know for me personally that I grew up hearing other words, and I, like Yahweh or Jehovah or whatever those other words were, but really thinking that they were different languages. You know, were they Hebrew? Were they Greek? Were they whatever those ancient languages were? What I have learned about 6 years ago now, so it's still very new and very fresh and very important to me, is the names of God used in the Bible are actually a roadmap for learning, and that's what the sheet of paper says. So if you go back to Life System Network /webinar, this document is there. You can download it. This is made available to you so that you can begin to understand his character. I know that so many of us think of God as this big entity in the sky, and our Bibles have given him more of titles like God, Lord, Lord God, God Lord, however it is written out. And what we're giving you this week is Jehovah Roi, and the Lord is my shepherd. And I'm sure that we have often heard the Lord is my shepherd. If you are sticking around with us, you are probably aware of Psalms 23. It's one of the most well-known Psalms, spoken often at many celebrations of life and funerals. But it really speaks to who God is. And when we are praying to or speaking of Jehovah Roi, it's envisioning that shepherd who will do everything, go to any length to keep that little sheep safe. That was his job. That was his responsibility. It was his livelihood to make sure that all of those sheep were well, they were healthy, and they were taken care of. Now, that's a God I want to have a relationship with. That's a God I want to invest in. That's a God that I want to get to know, and I want to have that really intimate, personal relationship with him. So again, this is for you, for self-study, and we're going to go to the last part of our series, or our system in our webinars, and this is Lies and Truths. So I'm going to bring up our last document, and we're calling this our Going Deeper section. And this is a verse. We'll give you a different verse every time we get together on these webinars. And in Isaiah 58, what he is talking about, he being God, is false fasting and being pious. And what that means is, I'm all that in a bag of chips, and look at me, I follow all the laws, and I'm great. And, you know, but there was nothing in that. There was nothing in that person's heart. There was nothing that was connecting that person to God. And towards the end of Isaiah 58, he starts, it shifts from, that's not who I want you to be. I don't want you to be that pious, self-centered, self-righteous person. I want you to be of service. I want you to show practical application. I want you to be love. I want you to be a reflection of me and my heart for you. So that's what this verse is. It says, and the reward for that, you know, God wants to reward us. God wants to prosper us. God wants us to have success. And so this is success. The Lord will guide you continually, giving you water when you are dry and restoring your strength. You will be like a well-watered garden, like an ever-flowing spring. I want to be that woman for him. I long for that. And I have to do the work. I have to do the work. I have to invest in my God relationship. And so one of the ways that we invest in our God relationships is we learn about him, and we learn about his truth and his promises. And so that's what this Going Deeper section is going to be. Now, we're going to give you a lie every time we get together. And this one speaks really to my story. and I must have an education or a better education and know more than I do to be successful in business. Now that's a lie. It's a flat out lie. Now, depending on what I want to be when I grow up. If I want to be a doctor, yes, education, it's critical. You have to have that type of an education. But to be a business person, to be successful in business, you don't have to have a college degree. There are so many people out there that don't, either by life circumstances or by choices. And I could sit here and continue to believe that I'm never going to be successful because I don't have an education. I mean, I obviously have some education or a better education. And I could sit in this lie and I could be stuck and I wouldn't be a courageous leader. And so God's truth from his word is, I'm going to give you several verses that I'm going to read to you. And then some of them I want you to look up so that you can hear who God says you are. It's not what the world says about you. And I hate to say it, but ladies and gentlemen, it's not even what our parents say about us. It's not about what the teacher said about us in 4th grade. It's what God says about us. And that's all that matters. And so Philippians 4:13, this is a really popular verse. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. That's a truth. I can lean into God. That is my truth. He will strengthen me for the things he's called me to do. Here's another one that you may know, Ephesians 2:10. Write these down. For we are workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. We were predestined to do what we're doing. Yes, we have free will, but God had a design for us. And if we're walking in his will for our lives, we're going to reap all of those great, crazy, wonderful things that he wants for us. So I encourage you to remember that you were created by him, for his purposes, for his glory, for his victory. And he needs us. He doesn't need us, but he needs us to be an active partner in this thing we call life. And to back up what he says beforehand, Psalms 139, this is the paraphrase, 13 through 17. You made all of the delicate inner parts of my body, and you knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. And then I want you to take a look at 2 Corinthians 3:4 through 5, Isaiah 41:10, and Ephesians 3:16. I'll repeat those. 2 Corinthians 3:4 through 5, we read Philippians 4:13 is what I read, Isaiah 41:10, and Ephesians 3:16. Those are God's truth. So you can take that lie, and if this isn't your lie, put your lie in there. I'm sure over the course of the next 12 months, we'll hit the lie, but we all have variations of the lies that we are going to discuss over the next 12 months. And then, what's the practical application? How can you take these truths and how can you apply them to a lie that you, one, maybe you didn't even know it was a lie. Those are the ones that are crazy. Something that was said to you as a little kid, and you just always, that's just the way it was. You didn't know anything else. But if you seek God, you seek the Holy Spirit, and if you're feeling stuck, ask him to reveal that lie, and then ask him to reveal the truth. Get free. Get set free. Get rid of that bondage and those strongholds that keep you back. So some practical applications. I'm just going to give you some, and then you can write down what those are going to look like for you. It may mean, in this particular instance of the lie, I need a better education. Okay, take a class. That's a practical application. Instead of saying I can't, take a class. Another dear, sweet friend of mine, Brenda Byers, has taught, what's in your hand? What's in the palm of your hand? Practical application would be, I've identified something I don't know well, or maybe I don't know at all. And instead of staying stuck in the lie that I'm never going to be successful in business, I just start asking, what's in the palm of my hand? What resources do I have? By simply asking. Remember, that goes back to being a courageous leader. Asking, who do you know? Identifying what it is that you need help with, asking for it, and then be willing to receive it. Another practical application may be studying God's word. Taking one of those verses that I shared with you today and doing a deeper study on it. Study word for word. Go to the original language. What did that word actually mean? It may be writing them out and putting them on Post-it notes, and that reminder, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Practical application. One of the other things that, if it works, not all scripture does, but where you can put your name in it. There's so much power when you read your name into it. So Stephanie, fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed. For Stephanie, I am your God. I will strengthen Stephanie. I will help Stephanie. I will uphold Stephanie with my righteous right hand. That's another practical application. And so I would encourage you to spend some time with this lie or another lie that you want to dig into. Again, reach out. Who can help you with this process? And we are going to be activating our Facebook private group here within the next several days. That's going to be a great place for you to ask for accountability, tell us your successes, tell us where you're struggling, and let us come alongside you and be your community so that you can live a life without apology. And so I want to say thank you. First one's under our belt. We're so excited. 25 more to go. Be on the lookout again for emails, things that we'll be sending you for encouragement, how you can get plugged in, how you can be a part of the L.I.F.E community so that you can go out and be a leader, that you can inspire others, that you can be fearless, that you can be fearless, and that you can learn to embrace all that your life is presenting to you in this season. And so we say thanks and bye for now. We will see you on July 11th with Audrey Goodwin, and have a wonderful rest of your day and week. See you later. Bye.